Shall we move on?
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Let's move on.
All right.
Yeah.
You talk about a Sabbath day's journey in Acts chapter 1. Jesus traveled on the Sabbath, okay? What's he doing out of his house?
Stop. You guys, what is a Sabbath day journey? Because he's assuming that because it says Sabbath day's journey that Jesus is traveling on the Sabbath. But does a Sabbath day's journey indicate that he was traveling on the Sabbath day? I want to share something real quick. Okay, what does a Sabbath day journey mean? It says, used only in Acts 1, verse 12, where it designates the what?
The distance.
The distance. Does it designate the day that they're traveling or the distance that they're traveling? From Jerusalem to the Mount of Olives, to which Jesus led his disciples on the day of his ascension. Right? So the expression comes from a rabbinical usage to indicate the distance a Jew might travel on the Sabbath without transgressing the law, and command against working on that day being interpreted as including travel. Right? So a Sabbath day's journey, it indicates the distance that one was supposed to travel on the Sabbath without breaking the law according to tradition. Now, how far were they supposed to travel, or how far could they travel without breaking the law? Let's look at Numbers chapter 35, verse 5.
Numbers chapter 35, verse 5.
Okay.
It says, and ye shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst. This shall be to them the suburbs of the city. So according to Jewish tradition, someone could not travel more than 2,000 cubits at a time on the Sabbath day, because according to Jewish tradition, had they done that, they would be traveling outside of the city of Jerusalem. And so this would be considered breaking the law, because, you know, they consider traveling outside the city of Jerusalem breaking the Sabbath day. So no, a Sabbath day journey has nothing to do with traveling on the Sabbath. It has to do with the distance. So when it says that Jesus, he traveled a Sabbath day journey, it was anywhere between 1 and 2,000 cubits that he had traveled. That's all it's saying.
Amen. Oh, by the way, I want to introduce y'all to a man, a myth, and a legend.
Edwin, I knew it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so for those of you who don't know, Bible study just began just now. But welcome. Welcome.
Thank you for that comment. I came for Randy's comment, man. That was hilarious.
Good to have you here.
Man. Just to hop on real quick, man. You guys are doing awesome. Please don't let me interrupt. Just keep it going, man.
All right, cool. So, Deontay, you did some excellent research, and I wanted to share something because I like doing research also. I have an interesting book called the Babylonian Talmud. I have the whole copy of the Talmud. If you just Google this, you can actually find the Talmud, and I want to share with you what it actually says about a Sabbath day journey. But before I go there, can I read to you what it says on that thing that you just shared? So this is that article that you just shared, right? Look at how silly this is. I'm sorry, did I say silly? Silly is not the word. Look at how interesting this is, right? This part that I'm going to highlight right here. I know it's like really small, so let's see if I can zoom in as much as possible. Like what you just read, what they considered to be a Sabbath day journey was 2,000 cubits, which is basically like 3/4 of a mile or something like that. But look what it says. The rabbis, however, invented a way of increasing this distance without technically infringing the law by depositing some food at the 2,000 cubit limit before the Sabbath and declaring that spot a temporary domicile.
What's a
They might
domicile?
then like a house or a holding place.
Okay.
They might then proceed 2,000 cubits from this point without transgressing the law. The point that I want to make here is that they're putting even stipulations on the stipulations that they're putting. The thing that we need to understand about this Sabbath journey, right? This is not from God. And this was the conflict that Jesus was saying. So, the things that we'll see in the Talmud, and I have some pages here. I want y'all to see some of what the Talmud says. So, the Sabbath day journey, this rule that you can only travel a certain mile, only comes from the Talmud. You won't see it in the Bible. But look what it says. It said, Rabbi Abba, right? That's his name. These are rabbis that are saying this in the name of Ar Haya, Rabbi Haya Ashi, quoting Rab. It presents no difficulty. In the first part, it speaks of Urub of Tekna that marks the boundary of 2,000 ells. Ells is a cubit around the city, where it is allowed for one to walk on Sabbath. Right? These are rules by rabbis. They're the ones that are saying you're only allowed to walk these 2,000 cubits. Another page, this is like page 734 of the same book. It says another rabbi. Said Rabbi Naaman in the name of Samuel, if one went out and did not know the legal distance he could traverse, he may walk for a distance of 2,000 medium steps. This will constitute the lawful limit of the Sabbath. So I wanted to just really harp on this point, and like Deontay said, yeah, they really get it from Numbers chapter 35. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan, near Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in. And you shall give also the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them. And the cities shall they have dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle, and for their goods, and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which you shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. And you shall measure from without the city on the east side. Here it is. Here's where they get the number 2,000 cubits. And on the south side, 2,000 cubits. On the west side, 2,000 cubits. And on the north side, 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst. This shall be then the suburbs. So the thing that we need to understand is that they're getting it. And maybe they may have had good cause, right? But let's understand that this whole thing about a Sabbath day journey was not written by God. This was all their own doing. These were rabbis that were saying, yeah, your Sabbath day journey is only 2,000 cubits. But if you put food at the 2,000 cubit mark, then it could be 4,000 cubits. Like, what are we talking about here? But that was it.
I was literally going to ask for clarification for that. So you telling me they put it at the 2,000 mark? What, they took a rest?
Yes.
The question is, did they take like a 30-minute break or an hour? Did that constitute a somewhat of a rest to say now I can do an extra 2,000? That's actually pretty clever.
I don't know. But basically, Edwin, I want to show you something because I got this from you, brother. You see, I pay attention every time Edwin speaks, y'all. So, there's this word that I learned from Edwin called legalism. You remember that word, Edwin? Mm-hmm. And I remember you showed me this website. I hope this is the right website. Legalism is a strict, literal interpretation of the law with no consideration of the specific circumstances. Mm. This is what we're going to be discussing a lot in this study. A lot of people are very legalistic about how they approach the things of God. And this is what we're going to be really harping back on to. And that whole Sabbath day's journey, that wasn't of God. And we're going to understand as we go further how Jesus came and corrected all these things.
And just to further actually answer the question, Jay, I think we discussed it in the last question of what he did out of his house, right? I'm not sure if we even need to really speak much on it because obviously we know that he did ministry. He was in the synagogue and so with others as well. The disciples that came after him did the same thing as well. So he had good reason to be out of his house.
Yeah.
Yep. So, works for me.
That's that. Any else thing needs to be said?
I was just thinking that this reminds me of when Jesus condemned the Pharisees about the commandments of men. It seems like this is something the Pharisees were always doing, and here we have a perfect example of that. That's in Matthew chapter 15. And incidentally, Paul speaks of that in Titus chapter 1. He says, not giving heed to Jewish fables and the commandments of men that turn from the truth. So that's all it is. It's just commandments of men, stuff they created to make the Sabbath and other commandments like the fifth commandment in Matthew 15 more stringent and more legalistic.
Exactly. And that's what the Jews did. By the way, if anybody wants a copy of the Talmud, just take a screenshot of this. You'll find that exact book. Read through it. Just type the word Sabbath. You'll see every restriction that they made on Sabbath. But again, this is commandments of men, not commandments of God. Let's move on.